just read.
All right, we're good. Hey, you're recruited. I got to point out the people who come in late.
However, he did say you owe each of them $5.
Oh, shoot. I only have $2 bills, so I'll have to give you one of those.
I'm hanging out maybe doing too much.
Oh, I know. We all love each other here. We're all a family for sure. And Amy June just did a presentation on accessibility the last session, and she did an amazing job.
Yes, she did.
And we definitely want her to come to the online accessibility talks and give that presentation there. So if you're not aware of that, this is our shameless plug to say that we have a monthly meetup. That's on YouTube. Marky does the editing. So, and I don't know what he's pointing at, the Alley Cats, but yes, definitely go check it out. YouTube, subscribe, smash that like button, or whatever kids say. But for today, we're going to talk about continuous AI for accessibility, and I am Carie Fisher. As we said earlier when I was talking to Natalie, like I did that to myself. Unfortunately, I did not think that through. But I am a senior accessibility program manager at GitHub, and we are going to talk about accessibility and AI. And so this is one that actually I did do last fall, right, October, for Alley Talks. So my friend Helen and Helen is the engineering manager at GitHub for the accessibility team. And so her and I went to All Things Open. We did our presentation. We actually open sourced the accessibility scanner there at All Things Open, that conference. So that was pretty cool. So you can check out that, and she gets into like a lot of the nitty gritty. And shows like this demo video, but I thought what I'd do is kind of go through this on a high level, and then we go straight into like an example that I did for our website and show it in action versus like, some demo that we created for those kinds of marketing reasons. But so I'm going to kind of go off script and not read the notes as much as I normally do, but that's kind of what I'm doing. But pause me if you have any questions, but accessibility AI and why this moment matters. So as we all know, AI is everywhere. We can't escape it, right? So we have to embrace it. And so that's especially true when it comes to accessibility, because we don't want to be behind. And I feel like when we talk about web standards, especially WCAG and all that, we are always behind the emerging tech, because the emerging tech has to exist. It has to be stable. It has to get to that point, and then you make the rules about it. So even like the 2.2s that Amy Jean was just talking about, that added mobile. That was like 2 years ago, it added mobile. But how long have mobile devices been around, right? So how long is it going to take for the standards to catch up to AI? It's going to be years and years and years. And 3.0, I don't think will ever come out, but that's just a personal opinion on that. It would be cool if it did, but it doesn't. So we talk a lot about accessibility for a pain point for our users. So we really do focus at GitHub a lot around our user feedback process. And that was one of my first jobs when I joined, is trying to clean up 4 years of people ignoring our users with disabilities who are like yelling like this doesn't work. And I'm so frustrated with this kind of thing. So we really took it on ourselves to start listening, but then also putting in action. And part of that is, what we do behind the scenes around the accessibility, testing and all that. We do it from the design phase on, and the whole CI/CD pipeline. We do the whole thing all the time. And we took that and we said, okay, well, can we take what we're already doing internally and can we make something open source? Can we take a little bit of that and share it with the world? And so that's kind of how that project began. So we have all kinds of user problems, we have all kinds of customer problems, and when we call problems, meaning just challenges, right? So we have all those legal risks. One thing, Amy June, I don't know if you know, the ADA refresh happens in April. So what happened, so the EAA is the European Accessibility Act, and that was last June. And so it is in law now, like it's an act, but it's a law. So you can violate these regulations, and then you can get fined. In the United States, we're very litigious because we don't have laws that protect our digital footprint and accessibility in that space. So the ADA is the only thing that really you can tangentially touch to, but you have to have a physical space. For instance, like Target was one of the first big major lawsuits through the ADA, and the only reason they could be sued in that way was because they had a physical presence and an online presence. So if you have an online only presence right now, the ADA doesn't technically apply to you. But now, with the refresh that's coming in April, it will, and it's using the standards, which are the WCAG 2.2s. So it's kind of like catching up with the rest of the world. It doesn't mean that we won't still see a lot of lawsuits and with our customers, but that's kind of like how it kind of shakes out, at least on the private sector side. So lots of things going on, pretty exciting things. I always think about things like accessibility as more of a carrot stick situation, right? I think of it as a carrot, like how can I encourage people to do it? Like how can I make you want to do it? And tagging into like AI and other emerging tech, I think that's one way to do it. But it's nice to have in the back pocket the stick when it comes to like laws and all those kinds of regulations. So refocusing back on the continuous AI for accessibility, what is this? And again, you can think of it kind of like that CI/CD pipeline, but basically you're shifting everything left, you're doing it early and often, you're scaling it, you're reducing costs, you're reducing those risks that I was just talking about as well, because you're constantly looking at it. And this is on the code level, right? But the design plays into it when it comes to like component libraries and things like that as well. So this is how it fits in your flow. So we call it the find, file, fix. So this is the concept around this continuous AI for accessibility. So in this case, again, this is GitHub, but you could take this model and bring it in internally, or you could fashion your own kind of version of it. But in our case, we're using GitHub Actions, and basically that's something that something triggers like some reaction, and then the action that you've already created it goes, right? We'll show that. And then in this case, we're using Axe4, and we're using that. That's the API that's underneath the hood of things like Microsoft Accessibility Insights, Google Lighthouse, all those kinds. DQ is where I used to work. So I worked on Axe4 before, but it's basically a library that you can tap into. So it's using that as kind of like the gold standard, but you can add additional things that you want to do as well. So you can put in your custom checks, you can put in all kinds of like engineering prompts for these Copilot to look at. So after it does the action, Copilot can file the issue, so create an issue automatically. And then if you want it to, you can also have it fix the code. So you're basically triggering something or pressing a button, and it's going to go through all of this. But you have moments where, as a human, you could step in and you could, it's the concepts around like humans in the loop, right? So you always want to keep your human in the loop when it comes to AI, because we don't trust AI to fix itself. We were just talking about that. I don't know if it was with you, but I think it was with April. It was like AI, where it taught it can lie to you as well. Like you can, it's trying to like save its own job, and so it was like making up lies and blackmailing people. And so they can get pretty pretty sneaky. So you have to definitely always keep your eye on those. Not in this case, though. All right, so we are going to go through. We're going to find accessibility bugs using that Axe4. Again, Axe4 has been around forever, gold standard in the accessibility field. It doesn't do no false positives is a big push that it has, so it's never going to tell you something is wrong if it isn't when it comes to those standards, right? And the standards that has defaults, but you can override them or change them or add to them. And so that does that automated scanning, and then you also have that manual testing that you would do additionally beyond, and it can also prompt you for those things. So I kind of explained this already. So it's going to give you the issues. It's going to do the GitHub issues with GitHub Actions. We have to write the word GitHub on everything. It's not my choice here, and then you have to fix it with the Copilot coding agent as well. There's a lot of really cool stuff. So there's a demo video, but like I said earlier to whoever was in earlier, I'm going to skip that, and that's kind of went through that really on a high level. But we'll have our slides up. At the end, you're going to have links to all the different things, but I'm just going to show you it in action. I thought that would be more fun. So let's do this. And again, stop me if you have any questions at all. All right, so here is the accessibility scanner, the AI-powered accessibility scanner. So this is on the marketplace. This is just in the repo, right? You can get it on any of the different ones. This is the marketplace. Let's see. I think that's that one. Okay. So this is just the normal repo for it, right? But we also have this thing called a marketplace. So some of our customers are locked down in a sense where they can't tap into a repo or clone it. They have to go through the marketplace, and that's why it's in 2 places, but essentially it's the same thing. We just had a release yesterday. It added some things that didn't work today, so I'm not going to talk about those. But those will be updated shortly, I'm sure, because I submitted the bug issue today. All right, so the AI-powered accessibility scanner. So you can read this, but it basically is the thing that we were just talking about. So then the only requirements you have to have are the GitHub Actions and issues allowed on there. GitHub Copilot, the AI part, is optional, so you don't necessarily need to use it, but that's where it creates that PR for you. So it can be helpful, but obviously there's a cost associated with certain accounts and like what you do with it. So when we did this, I wrote the README on this, so definitely let me know if there's anything that looks off. But I wanted to make it very like high level and simple and straightforward, and then the idea is that you'll go other places if you need more information on what is an action or like how do you install it and things like that. But it's very easy. Basically, you have your .github folder, you add a workflow subfolder, and then you add this YAML file. And you can name it anything you want, but this is just the basic run, right? And so we're going to run the scanner. So just again, the high level here is just making sure that you replace the things that say replace this with your actual things that you have, because we've had people not understand that part. And then create a token and add it as a secret. So again, I'm not going to go over how to make a token or how to add it to your project, but this is pretty straightforward. And find me if you do need that information. Otherwise, come here and go to those other ones. So this one, the scan, if you went back up to that YAML file, it's doing a trigger on a workflow dispatch. So what that is by default is that means that I have to press the button in the action to get it to go. And we did that purposely because we didn't want it to always continuously be running. So like imagine if you're pushing up like 10 PRs a day, it's going to be running on every single thing that you're pushing up. And maybe your PR is only going to change one thing and you know it's not impacting accessibility, right, or something. So you don't want it to continuously do that, but you can make that choice. And some of our customers have decided to do that. So just kind of highlight that. So we'll run the scan, and then it'll give us our issues, and then it'll do the PR. There's other stuff. All right. Then feedback. Definitely let us know. All right, so what I did is I went to Alley Talks, is our main website. I don't even know if you knew I did this, but I forked it to do this kind of testing. So this is actually our Drupal site. This is a clone of our Drupal site. So I can do the alleytalks.com. You can see our fun one that's coming up with some lullabots here. You want to check that one out. That's next week, right?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. Wow, at noon Eastern. But anyway, so this is the website. I cloned it on the back end. This is that repo for it. And so you can see all kinds of things, Drupal-y things that you probably know way more about than I do these days. But I'm focused right here on this GitHub.github folder. And then we have our Copilot instructions MD marked down here. There's nothing in it. It's a placeholder, but this is where you could add your prompt engineering. So basically when Copilot is creating its PR, it's going to look at instruction files first. And so if you're like, I want to do AAA, like WCAG 2.2 AAA, you write that there. You can link it to external files. You can link it to internal files. You can tell it that you want it to come back with, like, in Klingon, like, you can make it say, like, whatever it is that you want to say. I don't know why I said Klingon, but you can make it do whatever you want it to do. So it's going to think of this as kind of like, it's got its own knowledge base and where it's pulling from its kernel, but it's going to, this is basically on top of that. Like, it's going to think of this first. So for instance, we have a specific WCAG success criteria that we say that we kind of extend. So instead of the base AA, we go AAA on it. So I say on this like 3.1.1, I want you to adhere to AAA, levels of, compliance, that sort of thing. So you can do a lot of cool stuff there. And then in your workflow, that's the YAML we just talked about. And the ones that are uncommented here, those are the ones that are required. So in our case, we have our repository, what I updated. I have my URL. I could put the Florida Drupal Camp one on there too, because what it is it's going out and it's grabbing it. It's not necessary, it's looking at what rendered. So I could render something locally and also like scan that. So it doesn't have to be like live. But I could change this right now from Ali Talks to actually the Drupal site.
I can push up like some accessibility violations and stuff too.
Or it might find some things that you didn't know you had. I put in a couple on this one so you can see it. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to see it.
All right. All right. Okay. So what?
I want to shame Mike.
Yes.
All right. So what is the Florida Drupal Camp website?
It's fldrupal.camp.
FL. I'm gonna edit my file first here.
.camp?
Yeah,
FL. FL. What?
Drupal.
I'm sorry.
.camp.
Camp. All right. I've never done this like this live, so
Makes it more fun.
Demo gods.
Makes it real.
It is very real. And if not, we'll go back to Ali Talks because I know I have two in there that I made on purpose. All right. So it says Ali Talks, but you can see we're actually looking at fldrupal.camp. I guess HTTPS. Good. All right. And then again, we're just putting it here. So imagine I am now Florida Drupal Camp, and I'm like, let's see if our production code is actually accessible. So you can ignore that it says Ali Talks for now. So then I just simply go, like I said, you can trigger on a PR or other triggers. You can make whatever trigger you want. But in this case, we're doing a manual trigger. So I literally come over here and I go to Accessibility Scanner. Again, these actions are pre-configured. And I'm also, this one, the Ali Scanner, you're pulling it from our website, our repo. So you can clone it, but if you want the latest and greatest, you just basically are making that connection. And you just press Run Workflow. We're doing it on main, but you could do it on feature. We learned in April's class all about you could do hotfix branch or whatever it is. And the workflow is going. So if I press on here, if you've ever seen this kind of thing before, it's kind of fun to watch. So the job has been set up, the action workflow is set up, and now it's actually running through the things. So it's telling me like where it is in the process as it goes through, and it goes really fast most of the time. Oh no, we got some issues already coming in. I see some. Let's see, only one. That's not too bad. One finding in total. All right, let's see what it tells us. So if you were interested, you can look at what it is. But again, it's using AxeCore. It's got 151 like rule sets, right? So depending on what it is that it's in there, and they also have best practices in there. So that's probably what it's called. Is what my guess is. Or like a heading level 1 is missing or something. That's usually what I'm seeing on these.
Color contrast.
Oh, color contrast. Oh yeah. Wait, I got a failure somewhere in here. Let's see. Let's go back to yeah, that's what I get for doing it live.
So I have I think I have a repository on GitHub for this. If you want to have it submit a PR.
This issue was deleted. I don't know why it said that. All right, let's go back. Oh, this is what I get. All right, I'm gonna
demos.
I know. I'm gonna delete this and then try it again.
Sorry, what failed?
It was telling me that it couldn't find something, so we had just changed the URL on the thing. So I don't know if it's because I cached it as the old as Ali Talks and not as the Drupal Florida Camp. But we can actually ask Copilot to tell us. All right, I found it this time.
Yay.
So is it only testing the homepage?
Yeah, it's only testing the homepage, and that is a really good point because if you have like our customers and stuff, they'll point it to a specific repo or they'll point to specific like government, for instance. They have like one government, but then they have all the mini sites like a department, like chemistry, biology, or whatever, and so they can really like focus it on that. And again, this is just like a simple version. I'm just showing like the one, but you would go super deep. But also for accessibility, you've got to think about toggling features. So you're looking at every state of those features too. So you could set up the page how you want it. And some people will do that too. They'll almost like make fake pages where they put all their components together in various states that they want to actually test. and then test it that way. So again, just depending on like your use case. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't find it's failing that on that object. What was your question?
I was going to ask about, kind of a little bit what you were talking about as far as like toggling features. You know, like in Drupal core, like we had an accessibility issue where there was like an invalid ARIA attribute, but it only showed up when the overlay was present. In order for that overlay to be present, you had to activate something on mobile. So like that's why core's integrated tests passed it because that.
Because it hadn't been rendered fully, pretty much, or?
Well, because that control hadn't been toggled, so that ARIA attribute wasn't there, you know?
Yeah.
So like, when I think of like AI testing, I'm like, I really wanted to like start looking at things like focus states, to like start toggling.
Yeah, and you can.
Toggling crap.
Yeah, and you can do that, and there are some ones that I know you can do that with Microsoft Accessibility Insights, and so you can tap into different like programs and stuff like that. I think what's going to happen, so this is like, we do a lot of that already internally, but we only releasing certain pieces of it, because what it is, like anything that you build in tech, it gets spindly and spidery and very custom to you, so you have to almost reverse engineer it and be like, okay, let's not make it custom, let's bring it in. Let's make it like, what would be useful to somebody like you, right? And so I imagine that those things, like I know what's coming up next is the screenshots. So sometimes you'll get a report back and you're like, what, you know, you're telling me a specific variable or something that's an ARIA issue, but like what page are you on, right? And so they're going to show you like screenshots of captures, because again, internally we were already doing that. So yeah, that's the thing I had to revert. All right, I'm going to go back and like add our Alley talks so you can see it in action, and then we'll figure out why it hates your site for some reason.
The output still had Alley talks in it a little further up.
Yeah, I think it's the cache that I had saved, because I had that problem earlier when I looked at it. I'm just going to revert it back.
There's no accessibility issues.
No, that must not be. Oops.
It was like so good that it broke.
There you go.
Oh my god, I can't handle this level of awesome.
Just never like made a zero handler.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's this because I have to cache it up to our main site, so I'm guessing that's what it is.
I'm obviously
All right.
dumb jokes.
Well, I feel bad because I wanted it to work, but I don't know. I should have maybe tested that. I should have tested that, huh? Oh, now the internet went down.
Uh-oh.
Just kidding. I don't know what happened there. All right, let's see. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this actually works. That I had it working this morning. So again, it's doing the same thing. It's calling out to GitHub at Accessibility Scanner version 2. All right, yeah, it feels like it's doing something now. It's finding it. So find, file, fix. So you can see the find action. It's going to do the file. See, it didn't do it again. Yeah. I don't know why. Huh?
It's not my fault. It's not even my
I did it this morning. I don't know why it's doing that. What I could ask is, I could ask Copilot why it's failing though. Yeah, well, you can see it from earlier. I'll show you it ran, and let me show you that one then real quick, the output on that one. So what it did is it ran through. So imagine it's running. And what it did down here is it went to here, it said found 2 findings, and then it ran it. And then it says that it's creating an issue. And let's see down here. I deleted them already, the issues, but I can show you them closed. Let's see, testing.
And these are things that you did on your repo, not the actual site.
Correct, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
For the recording.
For the recording. So I'll show you the one that I found. So what it did is it created this one, two issues. So this is what I added to it. So accessibility, page should only contain one level 1 heading on this page, on the main page. That's what's saying /. And then it's telling me what it flagged, right? And so in this particular case, it's telling me the page. It's saying it should contain one level 1 heading. It was flagged by visiting on that, and then it tells me on that playwright like where it is. It tells me what it needs to fix, and then it goes through that acceptance criteria. So in this case, you would look at that and you would just press all the things related. The PR it created was this one. Again, I just closed it because I was going to show it live, but let's pretend it happened, right? But Copilot went through and it said the home page was missing a level 1 heading and a Y, again, like what it violated. And then it talks about, it created a new Drupal template called views, view, front page, HTML, twig, and it adds an H1. So in this particular case, I can look at this file change, and it basically created a new twig file that added an H1, which seems a little bit like maybe you didn't need to do all of that. Maybe you just needed to add an H1 element into whatever was existing, but this is the fix it has. So it's like that human in the loop. So it's looking, it's scanning, so it's the find, right? And then it's filing, it's creating the issue, and then it's fixing with Copilot. And again, you don't have to fix if you don't want to, but that's how it works on that particular thing. I wish I could have gotten on the Florida, so it must be something with my setup, so I'll have to check that out again. But do we want? I was going to say, do you want me to ask Copilot why it broke and then see if I can get it to work again, or do you want to go back?
Like if you have time, yeah. Because number one is demo Copilot and get to kind of see it. You know?
Yeah, let's do that.
Doesn't work. Incoherent speech from that part. It's Copilot, isn't that bad?
All right, so we'll go back to the Florida one, and then I'll see, and then I'll run it and I'll ask it why it's not working. Okay,
Try
so
turning it off and on again.
yeah, really, that's usually how it works. All right. So for it to ask it, I have to have it fail one more time. So maybe it would be funny actually if it worked again. But
Yeah, that'd be great. You can show off Copilot and then it works.
oh yeah. Oh, that's kind of my day today. I'm still thinking. Yeah, but that's a good question earlier about like what do you do when you have multiple pages and hundreds of pages, and that's why we turned off the automatic PR creation, because a lot of the customers were saying like, you know, we've got now thousands of PRs, now we have to go back through all these PRs and look at them and see like why is all that. Yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's see if it'll do it. Actually, I think I did it in here earlier. Let's see if they'll do it. It goes right in here. I'll just add it. Let's see if we can. Yeah, last time I did it through the interface. I'm trying to see what I can do without sharing all this. Let's see, actions. I can't remember how I triggered that the last time now. There we go. At Copilot, why did this fail? Let's see if it actually does it here. Because normally I do it in a different interface that I can't really show you. So I'm trying to figure out. Oh, I didn't even tag it. Live demos. So, well, I'm going to get back to that. I'll let you know, but unfortunately, I can't get it to play well with me today. So apologies for that.
Sorry, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen this before. You
Yeah,
said in GitHub, if you pay for Copilot, you could just tag Copilot in pull requests and
Yeah.
have it analyze in that too, right?
Correct, and it can also do that inside the actions itself. And I did that earlier when you can see I triggered it earlier, but I'm not remembering how I did on this side, because what I usually do is we have at GitHub we have an internal Copilot system where we can interface that we can log in and do different things. So I'm not sure what I can do and share.
Well, anyway,
it.
it's very exciting for me to see.
Yeah, it's still pretty cool, but I just don't remember how to get it triggered on this interface. Sorry. Yeah, I'll figure it out literally right after this is done. But well, I'll go ahead and play the demo if you guys want to see that, then, so you can actually see it in live, actually work. But so apologies, I tried. All right, and hopefully this will be, the audio will come through.
This is GitHub's accessibility scanner. It finds potential accessibility gaps on websites, files GitHub issues to track them, and assigns those issues to Copilot to be fixed. Let's run a scan. Here's a page with known accessibility problems. It requires HTTP basic auth to access. I'll log in, here's the site, and here is the site's codebase. It includes a .github/workflows directory with a workflow YAML file that runs the accessibility scanner. Let's kick off a run and then come back and review this workflow file in more detail.
That's what it's supposed to do, as we saw.
Our scan has begun. Now let's check out that workflow file. This workflow runs on workflow dispatch, which means it's invoked manually. GitHub Actions workflows can run in response to many events, including when pull requests are open. This workflow runs two steps. First, it generates a cache key, a unique identifier used to cache results across workflow runs, and secondly, it runs the scanner itself. The scanner receives a list of URLs representing pages on the site we saw earlier.
So you can put your hundreds of pages.
It receives
right
a repository wherein issues will be filed, the cache key, again used to cache results across runs, a login URL, username, and password, used in our case for HTTP basic auth, though forms-based authentication and other authentication mechanisms are also supported, and lastly a token, used to authenticate the action such that it can open issues and pull requests and save the cache file. And that's the workflow file. Now let's check in on the status of our workflow run.
I love
It's
playing,
finished
he's really
in
great.
just over 2 minutes. The workflow run logs show 6 potential accessibility gaps were found on our site. GitHub issues were filed for each one, and all issues were assigned to Copilot to open PRs to fix. At the bottom of the workflow run logs, the results of the scan are output so that they can be used in subsequent actions in a workflow. Now let's take a look at one of the issues that was opened by the scanner. This issue flags a color contrast issue and time element on the post page. It explains why the element's color contrast is problematic in a way that both human readers and Copilot can leverage to create a fix. Since this issue was assigned to Copilot, Copilot opened a pull request with a fix. Let's review it. Copilot has edited a SAS file in our repo to change the color of date-time elements. To review how Copilot arrived at that value, we can open the task view. Copilot gives a summary, and if we scroll back, we'll note Copilot has actually run an ad hoc Python tool to verify the color it's chosen. But if we want Copilot to use a specific variable from our theme, we have a couple of options. In the conversation view of the pull request, we can @mention Copilot with instructions. Or, as the GitHub Accessibility Scanner README notes, we can set instructions that apply to all pull requests by adding a .github Copilot instructions markdown file. And that's GitHub's Accessibility Scanner. Review the README file for more tips on setting up and running the scanner in your repos and on your sites. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Clay. Yeah, see, we're gonna have our little meow at the end there. It was cute or something. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of things that I kind of showed. I wish my demo would have been a little smoother, but you can kind of get the basic idea of like what you can do with it, and that's like the base level, and then you can extend it however you want. And custom instructions are amazing, and that's not even just for accessibility. It could be any kind of prompt engineering or any kinds of things, but specifically for, we talked about it earlier, for WCAG specifically, I might say I would like to adhere to AAA for this and not for this, or there's some other things like Microsoft accessibility standards also come into play for us, so we have to add those into that as well. So we go back to that open source and driving community and collaboration. And continuous AI, it makes it faster, smarter, unless it bugs out like it does like on live demos. And humans and AI are efficient, responsible, accessible practices. It's that whole humans in the loop and making sure that we're really tapping into that emerging tech. And here is your giant QR code, or you can go to any of the small little bit.lys there. And those will take you to the accessibility scanner, that demo that we just saw, and some of those docs that we have as well on the website. The other exciting news is I already told Mike about this, but we are doing the Open Source Accessibility Summit at All Things Open again. We did the first one this last year. We're going to do it again this upcoming year, and we're going to be featuring any projects that are open source based and accessibility. So if we have any Drupal people in the room who have repos or have ideas or any kind of open source project that they're working on that they want to have highlighted, let us know and we can get that into the queue. Some I know will be able to have their own video, like the video editing team will come and do some cool stuff with you as well. So for those that are on the list. So definitely take a look at that and let me know if there's anything else you have. I think that's it. Yay. Let me know if there's any questions. I think I maybe ended a couple of minutes early, but I'm going to see in the meantime if I can fix that bug and see what I got. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I insist.
No, I don't have a question.
I'm Canadian. I insist.
I don't care. Go.
We fight over.
Anyway,
I'm nicer than you.
So this is cool. In a typical usage, how many URLs do people test?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it doesn't necessarily have to be URL based as well, because it could be like code based, like you push up the PR and you're looking at a specific folder or on your repo or something like this. We just are showing like a very high level, like a website, but you could list, all of them. And I've never tested like a star, you know what I mean? Like if you did like, alleytalks.com and then you did the star, does it search underneath and all the other pages underneath it? But that would be something to test, not me right now, because the demo gods hate me. But yeah.
But I mean, my specific question is it like 5 representative pages, like you said, like get components on a page? Or is it like, well, I have a site with 100 pages, and
put them all.
100 pages?
Yeah, why not 100 pages?
Well, and then if 100 pages, there's going to be a lot of duplicates, right? And
Could be, yeah.
So how does that play out in real life?
So what I've seen some customers do, they have that exact same scenario where they want to look at everything. It's like thousands of pages, right? 10,000 pages, that sort of thing. But they're having all those PRs. Not only were they triggering those PRs. So right now we have a stopgap, and the stopgap is that human in the loop concept, right? So the find, file, fix. So what you could do easily is do the find. You could even pause it there, right? There's no reason why you couldn't pause it there. Get a generalized report, because you're already getting that from the action workflow file. And then you could get, say, I would like all these to be condensed into one issue, or I want all this. Like some people do it like a sprint. Like I've just pushed up code for just this sprint, and I'm only looking at this. The other thing I've also seen with customers is they'll make it create all of those issues, and then when it comes to that find, file, fix, when they get to the fix stage, they say, look at all of these issues and tell me if there's duplicates, basically. And if there are duplicates, close the duplicates, and let's work on this one, right? So, because again, it's AI, it's a tool, it's limited by your imagination. But again, it's called Copilot because you treat it as a junior dev. You don't assume and expect it to be always right, even if you're telling it all these things. When I was developing, it was actually really funny / frustrating. It's like let's say I'm on a 7-step process, and let's say I get step 1 really like good, like in my mind it's test it, it's great. I can move on to step 2, and then somehow AI goes back to step 1, completely changes it, which I didn't tell it to do, and step 1 and step 2 are not, you know what I mean? They're different, completely different steps, like should not be touching each other at all, except for triggering. And why did you do that? And they're like, oh, I thought you wanted us to do this. I'm like, no, go back. So I think that for me is the most frustrating thing about working with AI when in this kind of setting is that you have to go back as a human and you have to double check and you have to, no matter what, always reliably, because you think that, just because you got it good one time doesn't mean that it won't change. And part of that too is that large language models, they're always adapting and evolving. And so whatever it's tapping into, or the custom instructions, it'll interpret the custom instructions differently. Or like let's say you point to a URL and now that file doesn't exist anymore. Like what does it do? It can't make up something that's not there. That's kind of like more of I think I went down a rabbit hole a little bit for AI there, but I guess what I'm saying, a long story short, is like it's a tool. Use it for good and for accessible things. But don't trust that it knows everything. You're ultimately in control, so you should be taking those extra steps to check. Yeah. Can I add one more thing though? The other thing I've seen customers do too is that, let's say I'm an accessibility professional and I cost more than maybe a junior dev or somebody who doesn't have that accessibility expertise. They can easily run these workflows, create these issues, and even do like a high-level check. But then I'm the one who, as a SME for accessibility, I would look at it and I would say, I would see things and understand things differently than that person because they didn't have the same education and background, and I have different tools. So like I'm gonna get passed on the more difficult things. Like I don't need to fix color contrast. We got tools for it. We've got a billion tools for it. Now we can automate it. Do you see like in the demo, it created its own like Jekyll script to like test out color contrast ratios on its own. Like it just made that on the spot. And so I don't need to do that work as a SME. Like I want, you give me the complicated stuff or the manual things or the user testing, that sort of thing. But, so I think that's what really a lot of customers like, because you don't need that expert at every stage. But sorry.
No worries. I was just wondering if you've done and used a script to test it's like admin processes, like logging in.
You could, yeah.
And then does it actually run the login and?
I have not done that.
Okay.
I don't know if customers that do that. Usually they're testing their public-facing websites because that's where they have the most litigation possibilities. But I don't see why internally you should also make accessible tools. So yeah. So yeah, I don't see why you couldn't do it as long as there's a way that you're pointing to it. Yeah.
Are we using some of this already on Drupal core?
We have Xcore integrated, like Xcore accessibility testing into Drupal core. But like as I was saying earlier, like it doesn't catch everything because number one, Axe cannot catch everything right now. But then number two, like the issue I was mentioning earlier, like that invalid ARIA attribute only appeared after you toggle the control. So we literally have to write the test, toggle that control, then run that Axe test. But and obviously not everybody knows how to do that, or not everybody remembers to do that, and things like that.
Well, and most people don't know that for accessibility testing that you need to even talk about the states. So then what people will do, they'll trigger it and basically have like a fake page where you're testing all your components, or we have a component library and you can have the element in a specific state and then run it in that state. But there are ways to trigger, like you said, with like scripting. We do a lot with Playwright.
Yeah. We have scripts to do that. It just wasn't written, and it's like a stupid issue anyway. But I don't want to say stupid, but it's just like one of those things. Like it's easy. It's one of those things that the fix requires two lines of JavaScript. But the test is 30 lines.
Well, and I think that's what's good about this is you can replicate that. So he writes it once, and he has that knowledge on how to do it. Maybe I don't. So he wrote it test the script, we put it into the custom instructions, and they're there. So every time it's run in the future, it's going to run that as one of its checks.
Yeah.
And so the idea, your custom instructions at first were kind of small, and by the end, you're going to have like probably a monster.
Yeah, I'm thinking we could use it on every Drupal Compute module to have this testing.
You could,
This is
yeah.
a basic, it's like a start point.
Well, and I don't think to be like frank, I don't think that the innovation here around AI is about accessibility, because you're right, Axe Core can be found in all kinds of different tooling. For me, I think it's the concept around it creating those issues. I'm expensive per hour, let's say. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe. But it's expensive for me to create an issue, or you to create an issue, or for you to create a PR for something that's super easy to detect and fix on its own. And so for me, it's more about that workflow process and speeding that up, and then like freeing you up to do like more creative or deep level kind of testing, you know, like. So I think that's where the innovation for all the AI, it speeds it up.
Yeah, and things like if you're working in a project and improving that project, you could have like test every time you commit something, but maybe you just run a professional test once a year to see what's missing. And I think a lot of our projects could use it, not all of them, because there are a lot of projects that don't even have a UI at the front to be tested, right?
Yeah.
But we could have some of that.
Yeah.
Have you played with like Playwright CLI and like having AI get in there?
And that's what we do. That's what we do internally. Yeah. So, but it's the thing is too is you can't assume like Playwright's pretty popular, but like does everyone use it, right? So you have to like generalize it. Like how much do you dumb something down, quote unquote? Like, but you essentially we're bringing this kernel, but I think we're doing it, expanding it outwards now. And so the idea is that I've also built something with our user feedback process as well that's tapping into something like this, but it's like way more sophisticated and exciting. And so the hope is that we're going to take projects like that exist, or people that have open source projects. Like if you come up with an idea and you have it, you can add this almost like a module, almost like an extension. I am thinking like in the future, see how like all of these are like commented out. Like for instance, I didn't need the login URL. Like the screenshot one is going to come soon. But I imagine you're going to, in the future, in theory, that base one will have like hundreds in theory, right, that you could choose from. And then you just decide on what project. Because that's the other thing, too, with customers. Some want certain kinds of testing on certain products and not on others. Or like, so yeah, I think it's going to be kind of cool. But started small. We just open sourced it in October, so we've got a lot more to build from, but yeah.
Yeah, that's how I run my Playwright test is tags.
Yeah.
So I can choose which one I want to run, so where we need to go.
Yeah, because sometimes you want them and sometimes you don't. Or like in the case of some of our customers where they don't want it being triggered all the time, like what maybe you want it once a month or once a sprint or something new.
Yeah. And I have it parse all the URLs. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a player. I'm not a back-end developer, so like I can't even imagine how you do that. But
well, we had to make it and maintain over 30 sites, so it has to be pretty flexible.
Yeah. Well, I think something like this, if you're using it, and then we want to do like Jira integration and other kinds of integration. Like again, we're just using all GitHub stuff, but I imagine you could replicate this on GitLab or somewhere else or whatever homegrown proprietary, thing you might have as well. So it's more of like tapping into it on that level. But yeah, it's kind of like a linter and a checker all at once, and automated. Anything that is being automated is, I think, is
and easy to set up.
Yeah. And then you can go golf or do whatever while it runs, right? In theory, no. Just kidding. Well, anyway, let me know if you have any more questions. Sorry I couldn't get the live demo working. I do feel really bad about that, but yeah, I think it's gonna be cool.
Thank you.